Test Case Scenario with me, your host, Jason Baum. This podcast is the definitive hub for knowledge and stories in the software testing and development communities. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and let's dive straight into the episode. Right, and I'm gonna welcome everybody here on the panel to the stage. Welcome to Test Case Scenario Live. It's our very first live LinkedIn Live, I guess. It's actually not our very first. It's our first of this new series. So now we're going to be giving you Test Case Scenario Live in your homes, in your office, wherever you may be, all the time. Or as frequently as we'd like to. So I am joined, as I always am, with my co-hosts, Marcus Merrell and Evelyn Coleman. Hello, folks. Hello. How are you? Good to be doing this live with you.
Doing awesome. How are you?
Awesome.
Back in San Francisco.
I'm nervous. I'm a little nervous. It is exactly 4:32 Eastern. In the United States, on the East Coast. I am in New Jersey. It is Thursday, April 24th. That just proves to you that we're live. And because we are a live show, we can interact with you. So something that we haven't been able to do in our episodes, our podcasts before, if you've ever seen it, is we can't give you live events and we can't interact with you. And now we can, and that's fun. So I figured we would read a couple news articles, almost like we're like kidnapped and we're going to like show you the, okay, that's a terrible example. Sorry. I'm live, folks. You can't just give me a microphone. Okay. That's enough of me talking. I'm really excited to introduce our first guest for our Test Case Scenario LinkedIn Live series, Nithin, head of QA at Lodgify and founder of Synapse QA. Welcome to Test Case Scenario.
Thank you, Jason. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. We're really excited. Glad you haven't left yet based on my rocky intro, but really happy to have you on.
Same here. Looking forward.
Awesome. So as we are looking to sort of navigate 2025, we're already, 4 months in. The fourth month is almost over, and I think things have changed quite a bit. If you've ever seen the show, we talk about AI a lot, and we were coming in today to talk about a few things. We were going to talk about continuous delivery. We were going to talk about shift left and shift right. We were going to try and touch on building and leading quality first engineering teams. And we were also going to talk about real world AI use cases in test automation. I feel like test automation, AI in test automation has sort of just kind of taken over. And it's not just AI in test automation. I went to the new stack today and I was just looking at some of the shout out new stack. Give me something for that shout out, please. Mm-hmm. And I went to the new stack and I was looking at some of the top artists, and it's like agentic AI, MCP, AI in graphic design, AI in UI. It's like every single article is AI. And that got me thinking, is there anything going on in software development that is not AI anymore driven? And that wasn't going to be a question I was going to open with, but I'm going to open with it. And I'm going to throw that one at someone who is not going to be afraid to tackle that. And I already know Marcus. Marcus, tackle that question, please, for me.
I mean, in practical sense, every day, yes, absolutely. There are things going on every day, all the time, that are not related to AI. It's just what we happen to be agreeing on as the topic du jour, du semaine, if you want to say the week. And I think that, it's just, that's the way it goes. 4 years ago with crypto, now it's AI. The good news is with AI, we have a use case. So we actually are able to get stuff done. I use it every single day, but I still maintain that it's a thing that I use to get myself out of jams and unblock myself from things that are getting in my way. I use it to take care of some of the toil and obviate some of the tedious manual labor I have to perform to move things around. but it does not yet control my output. Like I still have to review every single thing it does.
Yeah,
What
it
about y'all?
hasn't perfected it yet. Yeah, I'm curious, Nithin, what you think?
It's the same thing, like more or less Marcus actually touched it really well, because AI actually supports us very much in terms of reducing toil and making us more effective. But at the same time, we still, as humans, we need to have a lot of interventions, and we need to be properly thinking on how we should use it to get the better output, right? Otherwise, it's going to give us like terrible outcomes. So we always need to think. And I just came across a post today earlier that one person was saying, like, now I'm using ChatGPT more, but as I use ChatGPT more, I think my own solutions, and by the end, I reach to my own conclusions without relying on ChatGPT's output, because it drives you to think more, and you are thinking more to give it better prompts. So that's kind of like how we complement each other, and we should be finding the balance. That's what I could say.
I would agree with that. I use AI to help me with my linear algebra homework every week. And I try to ask it not to give me the answer, but to help me understand. And what I like about it is that I can drive harder than I would with a human being. You know, if I am asking you or Marcus or Jason for a question and I kept going, yeah, but why? Why is it like that? Why? I still don't understand. I don't get it. I still don't get it. I still don't get it. Well, first of all, I would never do that. I would just live in my embarrassment and go ask somebody else. But with AI, like you said, it's causing me to think more, to go, why? And instead of asking one person and then going to another person, then going to another person and losing that connection between the ideas, I can drill down deeply in one train of thought in one moment. And I think I pick up the knowledge quicker, and it causes me to think more clearly about what I'm learning.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's like a use case I had. It's like AI is going to make you more confident because you don't have to be afraid to ask the silly questions.
Yeah.
No stupid questions, but you don't have to be afraid to ask the silly ones.
It's very patient.
Unless
so far,
unless you do what I did a couple days ago. I figured out one of the greatest things I think that has ever been done with AI is I told ChatGPT to act like Bad Janet from The Good Place always. So every time I ask it a question, it's like, oh, nerd alert, look who's having trouble. And yesterday it said, oh yeah, Gretel's always being a drama queen. So, that's honestly, it's still patient. It'll still go with you to answer the questions, but it will insult you in the process. And that is the greatest thing I have ever done with AI.
Fun fact, he will not stop sending me those Bad Janet. Like
That's
it's
correct.
every day getting like a Bad Janet thing from Marcus. Look what Bad Janet said today. So I think that's what Marcus is using his AI for. Yeah. So, okay. So we were going to talk, I kind of gave the topics up front. Those were the topics we promised to address, which we will. So let's talk about the first one, which it's kind of a big one. And Nithin, when you and I were talking about what we wanted to cover today, the first, I think that we both agreed on, like out of our mouths, is continuous delivery and continuous testing, like continuous quality. Because in Gartner, there's this number that Gartner gives, which is like 70%, I believe, of orgs are going to be focused on a continuous quality model by 2026, I believe is the year. Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So, I mean, and 70%, that's a lot. Honestly, I thought it would be more by now. But it's definitely going to grow significantly this year. Nithin, how have you seen continuous testing practices evolve in your own teams? What strategies, have been the most effective? And then we could kind of touch on the AI piece naturally, if it's part of that answer.
Definitely. So I can start with a time machine sort of thing, right? So when I started my career, everything was more like a waterfall sort of approach in QA, because quality always comes towards the end. And you know what you're supposed to test towards the end only, and that leads to like a lot of cost involved because you're finding things towards the end only. But now we are moving in the direction of like things are more iterative, smaller changes you want to deploy it continuously to the users, making it more valuable for them. And you can measure that changes, which is going out, right? Every day or every moment, very frequently. So in order to achieve that, it's essential to have like continuous testing practices. And that is what we are trying in our organization as well. We have like more automation in place across the testing pyramid, I would say. More unit tests, more integration tests, more component tests, or more contract tests, making sure all the components and everything interacts exactly as we expect them to interact with. And the tests run even in the local machines for the developers. So as they make a change, we could get a rapid feedback for them, making it more efficient for them to understand, okay, am I breaking something or am I doing some harm than giving a better output for the customer? So they get a rapid feedback in the local environment. And as an additional sort of validation, we have it running against each of the PRs. So whenever they create a PR, we have certain tests, and also the certain tests are covering the critical use cases we have in the product. So that gives, again, an extra sort of validation that we are not breaking the business critical functionalities all the time. And that too, even in the PR. So if the test is failing, they're going to block the PRs, and we are not letting any of the code to go out. And after that, if you get all green, we have a provision of having the tests segmented based on what service you are deploying. So it's not an AI sort of solution, but we do it with an orchestration tool of ours, which we built. So based on the deployment events, we actually listen to the services which is being deployed. We identify which is the relevant test suites we have for that specific change. So instead of running the entire chunk of end-to-end or integration tests, we actually cherry pick related to the deployment services, and then we run them. So we get, again, a faster feedback within few minutes of time that enables us to go even faster than we really want to have. So having tests all over the places, even before the deployment, continuously testing and iterating things and measuring what we are deploying, and having some observability in production has drastically changed the ecosystem, I would say. Like, that's the major shift I have seen in my career, because what I started was completely towards the end. Now what I see is all over the place we have testing, and it's shifting towards the left and shifting towards the right in both directions, giving us more capabilities to build trust for our customers, basically.
Yeah, that was really well said. I mean, you basically answered my second question almost. I mean, I was going to talk about shift. These folks know how much I love and shift right. And because I was going to ask, with shift left, based on early detection, shift right, on post deployment, balancing is really hard. And I'm just wondering, continuous testing sounds really nice, but is really difficult based on certain role functions and the role of a QA versus a developer. And there's sort of this political balance. I don't know, Marcus, you could probably speak to it better than I, having been in the role. But it's kind of evolving everywhere, and everyone does it a little different. And I'm seeing the emergence of QA as a center of excellence, sort of like as an advisory role now, more than anything. Do you see that? And Marcus, maybe you could talk about the relation QA and the developer, and maybe we could kind of talk about that and how that's evolving. But Nithin, I would also like to hear, on the center of excellence piece, first.
Honestly, I'd like to hear that first, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Definitely, because together with continuous testing, what we have been trying recently was more about, so QAs are not there because we are generally, testers are seen as a gatekeeper of quality, but at the same time, we preach the principle of quality as a whole team responsibility, right? So there are two facets of it. So we say that it's quality is team responsibility, but most of the time, when we say whole, the whole is not defined. So it could be anything. So we don't know who the whole refers to, and most of the time teams falls into the trap of like, which is the whole. So we had this practice of slowly moving the quality assurance piece to become a center of excellence sort of piece, where we are not directly validating all the changes, but the QAs are actually coaching the developers or enabling the developers to test better. So they provide context on what all are the risk areas, what all are the things we need to consider upfront, even before the development stage. And also we have behavioral driven tests, which is provided again, like the scenarios are provided and derived by the QAs. So they pass it over to them, and the developers actually draw tests out of those specifications and business use cases provided by QAs. But literally, none of the testers are doing active testing on those pieces, which is already automated. And developers, we share the responsibility of having the test coverage from them. And if they need any specialized sort of effort, that comes to the testing center of excellence, right? So they come and ask, guys, we have a complex project or we have a complex requirement which actually need a specialized sort of input. And that's where we involve the team. So, okay, guys, now we have something challenging, innovative, creative. You go and tackle that problem. And then we define that. But rest of the thing, we try to automate as much as possible to fasten things up. But at the same time, testing center of excellence, it's something new, even in our organization, which we are experimenting. So we are taking baby steps towards it, like slowly. We have 12 teams, but only the 4 teams are fully into the mode of continuous testing, but the rest are slowly embracing that change. So it's a slow change that comes with a mindset shift as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You talked about sending information to the developers to help inform them, like the business cases and those types of things. So that's sort of like the output. Are there inputs, like different departments and different places that connect with the center of excellence to inform you the other direction?
Yes, we get inputs from the product actually. So the product team defines the acceptance criteria for all the things which we want to do. But QA department lies like a horizontal, right? So we have interactions with the customer-facing teams, especially customer support. We get end-to-end user customer flows, behavioral transactions, and everything from them because they are the directly front-facing teams to the customers. And we try to draw parallels between what is coming as a product input connected with customer input. And we also collaborate with data team because they have been investing heavily on tracking behavioral data transactions in the application. So we can understand what our customers does and what they don't. So we connect all these pieces of puzzles together, and that actually drives to the output coming from QA, which is the business scenario specification.
That's awesome. Honestly, I feel like this could be, our like the top of our mountain for a test case scenario. We always talk about shifting left. We talk about shifting right. We talk about using automation and AI and having that balance and having those inputs from the customer facing teams. These are all, I would say, best practices, but ideas that we've put forward as ways folks should invest in their quality strategy. And it sounds like your team and you have thought through many of these concepts and kind of put it all together, like taken all the pieces and all those recommendations and sort of like, this is what that looks like.
So Nithin, if I'm to summarize what Evelyn just said, you listened to the podcast and you implemented it in your teams, and we thank you for that, and we hope the rest of you do the same thing. No,
You got the credit, Jason. Yes, I do watch the podcast.
we want all the credit, please.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, we ask the question a lot here: who owns quality? Or I ask that question all the time. Whose responsibility is quality? And I don't let people off the hook. I want a name. I want a role. Don't tell me everyone. Of course, it's everyone. That's obvious. Who though? And
CEO.
yeah, well, that's a good answer. And I love answers like that, Marcus. Right? Because it's like, where does the buck stop? And I think we're kind of talking it through as we think more continuous quality versus, oh, well, it's the developer's role now to catch the bugs early, or, QA's got to manage the tools now, or, production because, we feel like gambling a little bit, or we're doing it all because we actually, are thinking more about quality as like just as important as speed in the process. And so it's interesting to see it evolve. Let's talk about AI. Let's talk about AI because we only have 10 minutes. We are a short 30-minute show now, which is probably good for us because we could talk a lot. Let's talk about AI. Nithin, with AI in testing growing so rapidly, we saw a lot of MCP tooling coming out lately, a ton recently, with Selenium, with mobile, with Playwright, yeah, with there's so many now that are out there. Walk us through some of this. Evelyn, have you heard of MCP?
You're going to embarrass me in front of all of LinkedIn. I could use...
No. I asked that question because you just started with ChatGPT. You were telling us a few episodes ago.
I am a late adopter. I do not have my own name as my Gmail because I was still using... I refused. I was a late adopter. I'm very suspicious. So you're right. It's not because I'm...
You got a bunch of numbers in there.
Yeah, I do. So I'm just a late adopter. So if you could do me the favor of going over it for me, I would appreciate it. Just to remind me what it is.
That's it. That's it. I didn't mean to embarrass you, Evelyn. It's just there's a point to it. If you're not paying attention to like every little thing, it's going to blow by you because it's going so fast at the moment.
Yeah. Well, my 30-second overview, let's see if I can do it in under 30 seconds, is that an AI agent is different from an LLM in that you have a chat with an LLM to get answers. You give a prompt, it gives a response based on its giant model. With an agent, you actually give the LLM the power to interact with software that can actually do something. So instead of saying, please tell me what flights are best, you could say, while you're at it, once I select the flight, just go ahead and book it for me. MCP is a protocol that is a standardized protocol introduced by Anthropic and since adopted by OpenAI, which makes AI agents very easy to implement in a way that is standard across the AI industry. That is what MCP is.
Are you saying that before this, you could write an AI agent that would do the booking of the flight, but it was a bit of a toss-up what you were going to get? And
pretty
now,
you wouldn't. You would have to code it all yourself and teach your LLM how to interact with it. This gives a standardized way to say, my MCP server has these 5 commands available to you. And each one of these commands, I have a descriptive blurb that tells the LLM exactly how it should be interacted with to give it descriptive text. And then the LLM says, oh, the thing that the user is asking for roughly matches up with this command in this MCP server. So I'm going to say, hey, go do that thing. And it gives it a very standardized way to pass arguments in and to get arguments back out.
It's like a fuzzy API.
Well, it really is exactly like an API because there's no requirement that the MCP server have an LLM be built into it. You can write an MCP server that has no AI capabilities whatsoever. It is exactly an API with the one additional piece of the descriptive text that says, here's the way an LLM should interact with me.
Okay. Let's hear some real world examples.
Okay.
That's what I want to hear. Yeah, like of it being used. Yeah,
I can definitely. We are not yet into agentic AI, but what we started to do once the AI boom started to kick in was first thing we did was like when it comes to test automation, we have to deal a lot with flaky test. And it takes a lot of time to debug and understand what causes the flakiness. So we started to leverage the AI capabilities to actually detect and group the flaky test into some segments that actually enable the team to detect the flakiness faster. Like, what is the root cause behind the flakiness? We started to generate some patterns, common trends and observations. We trained the model, and then we started to get the feedback based on that. Now the model is matured, the team is faster enough to detect and solve the flaky test because without more sort of like segmentation, keeping them dead for a longer period of time. So that helped. That was one of the use case we did. And then we actually were struggling with a lot of bugs coming in, which was causing huge issues in our operational efficiency because of switching context here and there. But we didn't know, like, many of the bugs were having similar patterns. And having a human reviewing all the bugs all the time was taking like huge amount of time, because they, in order to, like, maybe after spending 30 minutes, they will just realize that it's a duplicate bug, which we are already trying to solve. So we started to build an AI-oriented solution that actually rely on our historical context of bugs. They compare things with Jira, they compare things with Zendesk, because we get customer support requests from Zendesk. We correlate them, and then it actually predicts. Okay, so once the bug is created, it actually gives you some context that, okay, we have this bug already reported, or this bug which is work in progress, or this bug which is already resolved, and this might be having the same root cause as this one. So you can have some faster sort of solution handle for that. And that's one another thing we did. And now we are thinking of leveraging the agentic AI sort of capabilities, because as I told, like, now the tests we have, which is triggered based on the deployment event, we want to make it even understanding the code changes from a code perspective. So if you are changing certain lines of code, we don't have to run even a five or six test cases. Maybe one test case is enough, because it's only touching that piece. So in order to get that sort of understanding, now we are experimenting a bit on agentic AI solutions to have it detecting the code changes and analyze and choose which is the right test case that it needs to execute. And we have the orchestrator capabilities expanded for that. So that's another work in progress item which we are doing.
Yeah. To me, the power here is not just the fact that an AI can instruct something to be done, an action to be performed, but the fact that if you construct your AI agent correctly using MCP or whatever protocol, you can make that piece of your framework or platform completely immune to the problems of hallucination and non-deterministic results.
Wow.
Because it performs an action that you told it to perform. And if you code it up right, it does it the right way every single time. It's up to the LLM to invoke it correctly and then interpret the response correctly. But the action itself can be deterministic, reliable, non-hallucinatory, all that. That's, to me, that's the power.
No, that is fantastic. Really, really amazing. I work in the customer success space, and how many times, does somebody identify something, and unless you've read every single support ticket and every single Jira and every single note in Slack, you don't have a great way to verify that it's not something that has already been reported. Even if you're in the middle of an outage, you might just not know. Right. And then to also tell you what to do to remediate that, or to make your, tests stronger, to reduce flaky tests, all of that is phenomenal.
And we are going to cover this topic in depth on our next episode on May 8th with Angie Jones, who released an MCP very recently. So we're very excited about that. And I cannot understand how we have already hit the 30-minute mark. And we promised that we were going to keep this show to 30 minutes, right? We're going to have to do it again. I think that's what we're finding, is we might have to do this. And man, we were all worried about going live. That was simple. We could do this. We could do this in our sleep. This is great. We'll do it again tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to do it again on May 8th. Join us the exact same time, 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific, whatever that is in your local time. It's when we're doing it. And on Thursdays. Thank you so much for joining us for Test Case Scenario. I'm Jason, and I've never done this live where I'm saying goodbye, and I always mess it up. So I'm messing it up live, and that's fun because it's live. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. Thank you for giving us your time. We'll see you next
Thank
time
you.
on Test Case Scenario. Thank you for joining us on Test Case Scenario. Share your thoughts in the comments. We'll make sure to respond to each and every single one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell to keep in touch. If you missed our last episode, it's popping up on your screen right now. Go, click it. Until next time on Test Case Scenario.